This is Blake Temez with the Blake Temez podcast, where I speak as a Catholic layman to Catholic laymen about missional living, wisdom cultivation, and legacy building in service of Christ and his bride, the Church. Thanks for being here. I was reading Jefferson Bethke's Take Back Your Family recently, a book that was published in 2021. And in it, he introduces a paradigm for understanding different models of family life that were first presented by the sociologist Carle Zimmerman in his book, Family and Civilization. Zimmerman, in his book, identifies three stages of civilizational approaches to family life. The three stages are the trustee family, the domestic family, and the atomistic family. And Zimmerman associates the building of civilizations with the trustee family model, the domestic family with the peak levels of power and creativity in a civilization, and the atomistic family with the collapse of society. And Bethke brings up these three forms of family life because he and Zimmerman recognized that our contemporary Western approach to family life is typically atomistic. Now, atomistic families are characterized by understanding the family and the home specifically as a launch pad for activities outside of the house and just kind of like a recharging station. Actually, to make that more clear, it's more like your home is a place where you park to recharge when all the things that really matter, quote unquote, are taking place outside of the home. There's a high value placed on individuality such that the family unit is at the service of optimizing the potentials of each of its members, but in an individual fashion, right? So it's not that the family is moving toward a shared set of goals, but that there's this competition for resources even within the family itself as each individual tries to optimize their development and their opportunities in life. And that's describing a subtle way that family life today is constructed, where there's many competing interests, right? Even subtly so. And not to say that family members are acting maliciously or deceptively towards one another, but that life is structured such that there are oftentimes cross purposes where goals don't naturally align. For instance, when parents, nowadays oftentimes both parents, have a career that takes them outside of the home, and children are in school with their extracurriculars, there are these different arenas that the members of the family are operating in that require different kinds of attention, resources, and time. And there can be a fractured sense of life where things are not integrated and acting in cooperation with one another. And this atomistic mode of being family is contrasted with the earliest stage, which is the trustee family, and then the middle stage, which is the domestic. So let's go back to the beginning here. Zimmerman noted that in historical periods where new civilizations were emerging, that there were these trustee families, or the trustee family model, was the most prevalent, in which the family name and the family's reputation and the family's business, in a way, was the primary concern. And so it's on the opposite extreme of the atomistic, where the individual is primary, but in the trustee family, the family name and that inheritance and legacy was at the top of the list. And so Bethke points to examples in even American society where something like trustee families are operative, when we have families like the Rockefellers or the Kennedys and similar names that carry a lot of weight and transcend even the identities of their individual members, because the family name and reputation was so large. And that having obvious drawbacks when it comes to the powerful families becoming powerful and staying powerful at the expense of the less fortunate and that type of thing, but nonetheless having real power to contribute to civilization building, and so that being a positive contribution under this model. Now, Bethke singles out the domestic family as a kind of ideal and spends the rest of Take Back Your Family promoting ways of reorienting away from the atomistic model to the domestic model. Now, the domestic model is characterized by functioning as a household unit, but beyond the nuclear family, such that there's a multi-generational dimension to the life of the family. And the home is understood to be the primary locus of economic activity, such that the family within the home is producing primarily rather than consuming, right? Because in the atomistic family model, where goods are simply drawn into the home and then consumed, the home is seen as an arena for consumption, not as a place for production. And there's a whole other conversation that could be had and should be had about how contemporary urban families can make their homes a location of production without having to become full-on urban homesteaders, but that can be addressed at another point. And Bethke frames this domestic family model in his conception of having family teams, where there is an acknowledgement of the individual gifts and desires of each member, but a real coordination amongst the family as to how shared goals are going to be met and will be pursued with the individual strengths of the different family members contributing to one another's well-being in the way that a team makes the most of what everyone contributes and seeks to optimize everyone's potential in a coordinated way rather than in a competitive way. And so when we look at these different stages of family life that we can identify historically, we want to ask ourselves, how is our family organized? Our current family, if we have, if we're married with children, or the family that we grew up in, our family of origin, and how has competition or cooperation and production versus consumerism and legacy, right, versus atomicity and kind of ephemeral, just like the passing away of culture without any type of inheritance to it? How do all of these play into how we organize our own families and then go on to mentor young men in altering the outlook that they have to be one that's more conducive to the flourishing of their family, so that they don't get caught in the atomistic mode that results in more fragmentation than cohesion. So that takes some self-reflection on our own internal reactions to these different stages of family life and how we actualize them, and then an awareness of where our mentees or those that we minister to are at and where they're coming from, so that we can appreciate what it might take for them to do something new that they didn't grow up in, and have a multi-generational impact moving forward. And so there's some thoughts about family life for you. As always, thank you for your time and attention, and God bless. If you're a young Catholic man or a mentor, missionary, or minister who works with them, or even just a concerned figure in their life, a parent, uncle, whoever it might be on the lookout for the release of a short guide that I'm putting together called Brothers by Blood: How to Forge a New Path for Catholic Manhood. In it, I'll expand on some of the topics in this podcast and give you some points of reflection to see about how you can be a part of a movement that empowers men and brings them to their full potential for their sake, and also for the benefit of the church, and by extension, the benefit of all society. So again, thank you for being a part of this, and look out for more information about the release of my guide in episodes to come.